Welcome to the Gold Standard Radio Show. I'm Craig Goldenfarb, your host and the founder of GOLDLAW. We've been a personal injury law firm in West Palm Beach for 25 years. This is the show where we spotlight the individuals and organizations making a real impact in our communities. Those who embody excellence, integrity, compassion, and the gold standard in everything they do. Every week we'll sit down with game changers, difference makers, and unsung heroes who are shaping the future of Palm Beach County and beyond. Whether it's through advocacy, innovation, or service, these are the people setting the bar high and showing us what it truly means to lead with purpose. So sit back, get inspired, and let's dive into the stories that define the gold standard.
I am here with a wonderful man who I met many years ago named Ricky Aiken. And Ricky started a organization in West Palm Beach called City Innovators. Ricky, it's always a pleasure having you here. Before we dive into City Innovators, your organization that you found, let's talk about how we first met and how this partnership between GOLDLAW and City Innovators came to be. What do you remember about those early days? I think it was 10 or 15 years ago.
Well, I could tell you for me, it was even before that. I remember as a kid, I'd be either suspended from school or at home with my grandma, and the commercials would come on, and you'd be one of the attorneys on the commercial. So that's when I first knew who you were, that you existed. But it wasn't until a few years later, or 10, 15 years ago, where I think I was speaking at Urban Youth Impact's gala, where you had heard me speak. And I must have made an impression because you invited me to your office to see how you could help me. And I came to your office, we met, and I remember you connected me with Tom, and he asked kind of what I needed. And I told him I just needed enough money to purchase our first set of shirts. And he was so surprised that all we wanted was shirts. He was like, most times when people come to us, they want us to buy tickets to a table. And from there, he realized that if I incorporated, I could get a lot more support. And you and Tom really just rally around me to help me do the heavy lifting that I wasn't able to do on my own. And that's kind of where the nonprofit part at City Innovators began. And I'll always be indebted to you for that.
Wow, I do remember that gala, and that was with an organization, West Palm Beach, who does wonderful work called Urban Youth Impact. And I heard Ricky speak at one of their galas, and I was like, man, this guy is amazing. And that's what prompted me to invite him to my office and see how I could help. At that point, there was no charity, City Innovators. So as a lawyer, I thought, the least I could do for this guy is to point him towards a law firm that could help him draft up the documents to actually become a charity. And then my marketing director at the time, named Tom Copeland, then was on his board briefly and helped him organize and really get this thing going. And to think of what you've become now after a mere request for just some T-shirts is absolutely amazing, and I'm so honored to have been a part of the initial stages of that journey. So wow, that's really tremendous. That really warms my heart that I was involved that early, and all it took was a few T-shirts to the man you are today. So over the years, you've grown City Innovators into, I would call it a movement because it's so powerful. And I've been involved in some regards for, since the beginning. So how has your mission evolved from those early T-shirt days since you first started into what's driving you forward today? Tell me about City Innovators today.
Yeah. Well, going back to when we first started, my cousin Terrion and I were watching the news, and it was almost as if every day in the summer of 2015, someone we knew was either being killed or suspected of killing someone. And we're from this community. Me and my friends had done things that resulted in gun violence. My cousin Terrion was shot before. We were kind of lamenting the fact that no one from the community was providing any perspective or leadership to this violence epidemic we were seeing. Every week you'll see the mayor and commissioners talk about plans that they had to address it, but it never had the buy-in of the community. So our simple desire was just to be that voice in our community, to provide perspective. And it kind of started out as an advocacy group. But in the fall of that year, after speaking at a community forum, a young man that was a part of our group, his name was Johnny Davis, we were at a community forum kind of helping inform city leaders on what they could do to curb violence. Less than a week and a half later, Johnny was walking home from the store with a group of his friends where he was violently gunned down. And that was the incident that showed us that what we were doing had to move past advocacy and informing city leaders of what they can do to address violence to a shift to what could we as young men in the community do to address violence. So everything we do is intuitive. What did I, as a young man at this most adverse period in my life, need to overcome some of the pitfalls I was facing? And that's how we built out our programs, just super intuitive to what young men growing up in communities where violence oftentimes is the only way you maintain your respect. And our community is run by respect, right? If you're not respected, you're a victim. And violence is just one of the things young people do to maintain a certain level of respect in their community.
It seems like the shape that Inner City Innovators has taken is to provide mentorship and leadership, which takes time and love and compassion and effort. So tell us about the structure and how you get these kids and what age you get them at.
Yeah. Well, we start at 13, and we pull them into, we have 3 major programs. Our main flagship program is our Hope Dealer Mentoring Program, which you referred to. And it's a hybrid mentoring program that combines individual, group, and peer-to-peer, right? If we're saying that we know that a very small percentage of young people in communities like ours are willing to pick up and use a gun, yet we're not willing to engage that demographic, then we're not serious about addressing the violence. So our mentoring dynamics are specifically focused on the young men most likely to perpetrate or be victimized by gun violence, right? Knowing they're high risk, 1 hour a month, like most traditional mentoring program, won't work for that kid. So our young people are getting upwards of at least 10 hours a month, if not a week, with mentors because they need that kind of attention. We have this model in-house called relentless engagement. When we first meet a young person, we don't expect them to trust us, right? When you grow up in a home and that's dysfunctional, you don't really have the trust and authority that you should have. So we don't expect them to come into our program and entrust themselves to us. We have to work to earn that trust, and a part of that is through relentless engagement, letting them know we're going to be there. Rather they spurn us, deny us at first, we are going to keep pursuing, right? And so our Hope Dealer Mentoring Program is our most important, but the other 2 is our community engagement efforts, where we organize peace walks, candlelight vigils, rallies, anything to awaken residents to the threat of gun violence and the work that we can do to prevent it. And lastly is our anti-violence workshops, where we go into schools, community centers, churches, anyone working with kids growing up in communities of concentrated violence, and we teach those young people how to safely navigate their communities.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back to the gold standard.
At GOLDLAW, we live by 6 core values: respect, integrity, innovation, compassion, success, and finally, the gold standard. Because good enough is never enough. These same core values are what drive the incredible leaders we feature as guests right here on the Gold Standard Radio Show. If you need a law firm that stands for excellence, fights for justice, and truly cares about you, give us a call at 561-222-2222. Because at GOLDLAW, we don't just represent cases, we represent people. So remember, choose the 2s, choose GOLDLAW.
Welcome back. It's fascinating that you're drawing the analogy between respect and gun violence, because from people that are outside of the community, we look in and we're like, gun violence, and we judge it, to be candid, like these people are killing themselves.
Right.
But if you link it to a core need that humans have in any community, which is respect, then you can see that why this comes true and why there's gun violence in the community and why there's gangs. Because if you don't have a family, who are you going to join?
Right.
You may join a gang, and then to get respect, you may get a gun. So if you think about being raised in such a community, you see there's reasons behind gun violence and trying to gain respect in this community. And frankly, it makes sense. And if you can stop that cycle of violence like you guys do, and give them respect in other areas.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're doing with these kids.
Yeah, and I say it all the time, right? When you live in a community where other forms of capital aren't available to you, social capital, respect becomes worth living and dying for, right? I may not be able to have the money or the network you have, but I can obtain a level of respect to make my life a little easier in the community that I'm in. And I tell people all the time, like, we all want the same things, right? We all want to be safe. We want to have peace. We want to have enough. But unfortunately, in communities like ours, the way to get those things is through hurting other people.
That's fascinating. I love your concept of relentless engagement. It just sounds like it applies to so many other areas, whether it's parenting your kids, whether it's mentoring, or in so many other areas. I just love the term. So that's great. I'm going to take that one from you if you don't mind.
Go for it.
So let me talk about your leadership. So you yourself, I mean, I've seen you grow over the last 10 years into not just a public speaker who needs T-shirts, to an amazing leader in the community. You're so resilient with what you've been through, and you really break the cycle of violence. So what are your biggest challenges with the young men in our community that they face today, and how are you helping them meet these challenges?
I would say one of the biggest challenges that we face, and if I'm able to be completely honest, it's the fact that for a lot of this time, our young men were primarily a threat to each other. And over the past few years, we've been seeing rising instances of intimate partner violence. Last night, I lost my niece at the hands of a boyfriend, a young man that should have been in a program like mine, you know? And we're seeing this uptick, not just here locally, but across the country. And to me, it's pointing to the root is the same. You know, it's hurting people. But I'm afraid there oftentimes aren't enough wounded healers like us to go in and address this hurt. And sometimes I'm afraid that if we don't take this serious now, it's just going to keep spreading, you know, where it's not just young men on young men. They're becoming a danger to the young women. It's only so long you can go this way before we collapse as a community if we don't do something. So that's my biggest challenge, is really framing things in a way that the young men in my program understand the importance of rising to the occasion, overcoming the odds, and being the solution that our communities desperately need.
It sounds like you're facing quite a bit of challenges given what's going on in society today with the rise of hate in general and the rising of violence. So, well, you know, kudos to you for trying to rise above those challenges, and you've got a partnership here at GOLDLAW. So thank you. Let's talk about a recent event we had at my office where I saw you. I'm one of those old guys on Facebook. My wife makes fun of me that I'm on Facebook, but so are you. And so I saw a great post you had where one of your mentors, Coach Fox, passed away. And whenever I see something like that, I'm like, the first thing that comes to my mind is, how can we memorialize such a good mentor in your community? So I thought about, hey, let's make a scholarship for someone who exemplifies the values of Coach Fox. So tell us a little bit about Coach Fox and the scholarship we had last week.
Yeah. So Coach Fox was like, he was one of the most amazing men. Like, as kids, like, imagine you're growing up in the projects, you're 10 years old, running around with your friends, and this guy just comes to the court with a basketball, organizes all the young men, and put a team together, right? And he not only taught us basketball and the fundamentals, but he also taught us character. And actually, my first time traveling out of town was with Coach Fox, you know, and he was a solo operation. So here was a young man, a man by himself, going into the inner city, organizing kids, teaching them character, giving them a skill. And so as I got older, I played for him through to age 17, but as I got older, our relationship changed from a coach to a friend and supporter. And he passed away, I think, about 5 years ago. And being that he impacted so many young people, I wanted to do whatever I could with my influence to show his former players, his families, his loved ones, anyone that knew him, that because he was who he was, I am who I am. And there are so many young men like me that benefited from that relationship.
So this year was the first year we did the Coach Fox Scholarship and Award. We gave it to a young man named John Wilkerson, who showed up with many family members for the award presentation, and we gave him a check for $1,000. And as he beautifully cried and kept apologizing for crying as he received $1,000, it was quite an amazing event. So what was it about John that made him the perfect choice for this award?
John is one of the young men, like every disadvantage you could have thrown at you as a young person, John has had to deal with that. Father's incarcerated, watched his mom struggling, older family members in and out of prison, growing up in the roughest part of town. But through the mentorship that he's received in our program, he has been an exemplary example of what we're trying to produce. Like, you talk about someone who understood they were given a lifeline and not only took it, but used that lifeline to bring their younger brothers and sisters in. Like, this young man is a leader amongst leaders, and he's a large reason I believe that change in communities like mine are possible. Like, usually when people look, they're only looking at the devastation. They're only looking at the conditions of, or all the things that have gone wrong. And I look at the young men like John that, despite all the obstacles thrown in their way, there's still a sense of hope about them, and it's contagious. So that, above all, is why I felt like John was a recipient. He's one of the most resilient young men I know, and he's the future of this organization.
That's absolutely fantastic. So I love your shirts that you've had since day one. The shirt you have on now and the shirt you've always had on says Hope Dealers,
Yeah.
which is absolutely fantastic. How did you come up with that name? Because I just, man, that's a great name.
Oh, yeah. Well, it came from the simple fact that when I was growing up, the only role models I had were the neighborhood dope dealers. Both of my older brothers were dope dealers. And so I knew that if things were going to change in our community, I had to give young people something better to look up to. So that's where the idea for Hope Dealers came from.
That's amazing. So as a hope dealer, if your listenership is at all any kids that are 10, 11, 12 and facing situations like they are in their neighborhood, is there a message you can give them while they're listening to say, hey, there's something better than what's going on for you right now?
Yeah. I would say something I always say, and that's that real change happens when the people who need it lead it. If there is something that you want to fix in your life, in your community, in this world, there's no one more qualified to be that change than you. There's no one with more incentive, right? I want to end gun violence in my community because it's my community. These are my loved ones. These are my friends. This is a place I love. So who is better qualified to lead change in this than I am? So I extend that same invitation to any young person experiencing adversity. There will always be a way to turn those trials into triumphs. It's all about perspective.
So I'm going to talk about, at the end, I'm going to talk about how we can financially help inner city innovators. But if you're an adult and you're in the community or not in the community, such as myself, other than financial,
Yeah.
Which is a big time, and we'll talk about that in a minute, how can someone get involved?
I think if they just go to our website, innercityinnovators.org, and the volunteer opportunity experience is really based on the person, right? Some people just need to be oriented to the mission that we're trying to combat. I have several meetings with people just orienting them to what we're trying to do. Others might want to mentor. Others might want to join the board. We're looking for administrative support. So if anyone has administrative skills they want to put to use for a back office, we really need that right now. And we always need help with grant writing, so people that want to type and help us achieve the grants that are going to keep us sustainable.
That's great. So that's how you become involved on that level, which is wonderful. Organizations like this always need people who are willing to step up. I've done some work with Inner City Innovators. It's one of the most rewarding things I've done. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back to the gold standard.
Every day, 1,500 children in Palm Beach County wake up in foster care through no fault of their own. They have been torn from everything they know, facing fear, uncertainty, and unimaginable hardships. Many have suffered neglect, abandonment, or abuse, and now they must navigate a complex system that often falls short of meeting their needs. But they're not alone. That's where Speak Up for Kids steps in. We provide life-changing advocacy, life skills training, and essential resources to help these children heal, grow, and thrive. From educational support to everyday necessities, we bridge the gaps so they can have a future filled with possibilities. But we cannot do it alone. These children need champions, someone to stand in their corner, fight with them, and remind them they are valued and not forgotten. Will you be that champion? Visit www.speakupforkidspbc.org today and take action. Your support, whether through donating, volunteering, or simply sharing our mission, makes all the difference. Together, we can bring hope, stability, and a future to children who need it most. Don't wait. Take action now. Visit www.speakupforkidspbc.org and be the hero they deserve.
Welcome back. So let me talk to you about your past. So, you've been very open about your own past, talking about your brothers and what role models they were for you, or lack of role models in your situation. But what was the turning point? Can you point to a time in your life where you had a mind shift and you said, I have to do something different. It's amazing to me that you grew up where you grew up.
Yeah.
But there must have been some point or series of events in your life where you're like, this has got to change.
Oh, yeah. I remember that night in particular. My grandmother had died. I was reunited with my mom. It was me, my mom, and my little brother. And we were living in a shed behind an abandoned house. And I had been smoking with my friends, so I was like high. And I came back to this shed under the influence, and my mom and my little brother were arguing. And it must have been because of the marijuana, or maybe that was a divine intervention. But it was, for the first time, it snapped in my head where I said, he shouldn't be talking to his mom like this. My mom shouldn't be choosing drugs over raising her children. I shouldn't be out of school selling drugs. It was like, for the first time, I saw my life for what it was and where it was headed. And that was the moment where I began to turn. I took advantage. At that time, I was lightly involved with Urban Youth Impact, but I saw that as a lifeline, and I really applied myself to everything they were offering at that time. So that was the turning point for me.
That's an amazing story. I wish I could project that story and that event upon kids at age 12 or 11 or 13. It's always amazing to me how just there's one turning point often in such wonderful people's lives like you. That's just something, I guess you could call it divine intervention. It's
Absolutely.
just, you don't know where that spark comes from. So I wanted to ask you about mentorship. So mentorship is at the core of Inner City Innovators.
Mm-hmm.
Briefly, tell us what's a good mentor, and do you have to have particular skills to start being a mentor?
Yeah, absolutely. For the young men in our program, we found that the most effective mentors are young people people who've come from where they come from, who rather lightly or heavily have gone down the path they've gone down. So that's very important to us. But what we look for in mentors is just patience, right? Someone with staying power. You're not going to see the immediate overnight results you want to see in a kid, especially the ones we're working with. But if you can outlast their ability to run, that's where you see the miracles. So we look for people with staying power. I would say that is the most important attribute a person could have.
Thank you, Ricky. I mean, if there's one thing you want every listener to walk away from this talk with, kids, adults, what is that one thing?
Be the change you want to see in the world, right? It's over for complaining and passing the buck. The time is now for us to step up and to be the change this world desperately needs.
Well, you certainly are a shining example of that from the moment I saw you ask for T-shirts until today, many years later. So let's talk, last thing is, if you want to help out Inner City Innovators financially, how can you do that? I know you're a 501c3 organization. We helped
Yep.
create that, which is
Yep.
wonderful. It's tax deductible. How can people help with money?
They can go to our website, innercityinnovators.org. And another caveat, we're planning our very first gala. This is our 10-year anniversary this year. So we're looking for anybody that wants to volunteer, be a part of that, and help make that magic happen, because we've been dealing hope for a decade now. And this will be an awesome way to showcase all we've done since.
And what's the date of that gala?
It's going to be November 1st.
Please, please, please make sure to contact my team to make sure we can be part of that gala.
Will do.
And I have a little surprise for you. So I obviously, GOLDLAW is so involved in the community, so involved with you guys. So I have a check here from me and my wife for $1,000 for Inner City Innovators.
Awesome.
There's more where that came from. I love your organization and put this to good use, as I'm sure you will. And thanks, Ricky, for everything you do in the community. InnerCityInnovators.org. Please help Mr. Aiken as a hope dealer in our community. From what I've seen the last 10 years, one of the most impactful and powerful organizations I've ever seen. So thanks, Ricky, for being with us.
Thank you, and it's my pleasure.
Hello and welcome today. I would like to introduce you to Vets Place, a dedicated veteran service organization founded by myself, Thomas Coles Reyes, located in West Palm Beach, Florida. At Vets Place, our mission is to support our veterans and their families through various essential services. We offer programs that include housing assistance, employment support, mental health counseling, and community outreach. Our goal is to help veterans transition successfully back into civilian life and ensure that they have the resources they need. You can find us at 401 North Rosemary Avenue, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33401. For any inquiries, feel free to call us at area code 561-206-0599. Our doors are open from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., ready to assist those who have served our country. One of the highlights of Vets Place is our Veteran Peer Support Program, where veterans can connect with others who understand their experiences. We also host regular community events and workshops designed to empower veterans and foster a sense of belonging. We invite you to support our mission through volunteerism, mentorship, sponsorships, and donations. Every contribution helps us to provide vital services to our veterans. You can find us and more information at our website, www.vetsplace.org. And again, if you'd like to contact us for any information or just to connect, our number again is area code 561-206-0599. And again, our website is www.vetsplace.org. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, Vets Place is committed to serving those who have served.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Gold Standard Radio Show. A huge thank you to our guests for sharing their incredible journey and for being a true beacon of excellence in our community. At GOLDLAW, we believe that when we lift others up, we all rise together. If you know someone in our community making a difference, someone who lives and breathes the gold standard, we want to hear about them. So please reach out, connect with us on social media, and let's continue celebrating the people who are shaping a brighter, stronger future for all of us in Palm Beach County. Until next time, I'm Craig Goldenfarb. So stay inspired, stay committed, and keep raising the gold standard.